guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Camilla. Some of you guys already know, some of you might not, but I am constantly thinking about ways of how to improve myself. How can I be the best version of myself? How can I improve myself so that the vision that I have of myself in 10 years, 5 years is fulfilled? And one of the things I ask myself on the daily is, what can I do today to shape my life? What actions am I taking today to shape my future, to become who I want to be, right? Well, in this process of thinking about who I want to be and what I'm doing to become that person, I came across this incredible book called Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. In this book, Tony basically lays out a guide as to what steps should you take in order to become the person that you want to be. And he starts by saying that the quickest way to shape our lives is by taking action. It sounds logical, right? We all think the same. If I need to change something about my life, I must do something to change it, right? We must change our behavior. If we do the same behavior, we will get the same results. And this is something that Tony agrees with. He says that different behaviors equal different results. It's like Einstein said, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. But there is a force that drives action. According to Tony, this is something that we all have the capacity of doing, and I totally agree with. The force that drives action, or the power of action, comes through focus. Where our focus goes, our energy flows, and that sets in motion the universe, which then builds upon our actions. But what determines our actions? What determines the actions that I take and the actions that you take on the daily basis? Well, this is something that Tony touches on in his book, which I thought it was brilliant and never ever actually clued in how important it is. And that is decisions. I know it sounds really simple, right? But it's not. And we are not conscious about the power that we have by making decisions. So that's what today's video is about, decisions. Also, don't forget to subscribe and ring the bell, that way you know when I post new videos. Ready? Let's go, guys. Okay, so like we said, our actions are determined by our decisions. I personally believe that we must understand that the power of decisions turns us into builders, into architects of our lives. Today we are building our future through our decisions. Decisions are like bricks. They serve to build houses where we can hold our dreams, or to create a bridge that unites differences. But it can also build walls that separate us. It is in every decision, in every brick, that we shape our lives and our destiny. I've personally always believed that the decisions that we make, no matter how young we are, determine the adult that we're going to become and how our life is going to be shaped. That's something I've always been very aware of. But something that I came across through my reading in Tony's book is something that he calls true decisions, which sparked interest in me, because aren't all decisions true? Don't we all decide what we decide and that's that? Well, not according to Tony. According to Tony, true decisions can change our lives instantly, not over time, not over a couple months or years or whatever. A true decision has the power of changing our lives in an instant. When I read that, I was like, are you sure? And that's when I realized what he meant by a true decision. Tony talks about the difference between merely stating something that you would like and making a decision, which is something that we all do. I do it all the time. I've said so many times that I would like to make a difference in the world, or that I would like my body to look a certain way, or whatever, right? We all have those moments, right? Well, in reality, that's not a true commitment to anything. It's just merely stating something that you would like to happen, but you're not putting any effort into it. A true decision, according to Tony, is something that is a commitment. More specifically, what is a true decision? It means committing to achieving a result and cutting yourself from any other possibility. It basically means taking action. What we most commonly know as a big decision. So how does it work? Well, according to Tony, after making a true decision, even a tough one, most of us feel a tremendous amount of relief. Yes, relief. We finally got off the fence, and this great feeling now equals an unquestioned objective and a sense of clarity. Well, it is this clarity that gives us the power and allows us to produce the results that we want in our life. If we give ourselves no other option but committing to what we're deciding, there's none of this, oh, I would like for X, Y, or Z to happen, or I would like for blah, 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 blah. It's I'm going to make this happen. This is going to happen, and I'm going to make it happen for myself. But then, how do we commit? What makes us commit to a decision instead of just stating something that we would like? Well, according to Tony, it is something as simple as information. Yep, info. Which usually comes in the form of a breakthrough, something major in our life that makes us say, no more, and I'm going to change. Well, this sort of information can come in major forms. It can be from a conversation, from a mentor, from meeting someone new, from a book, from a movie, or even a video like this. Information, it's knowledge, and it makes us feel empowered. And that leads to making better decisions that are more in tune with what we want our lives to be and who we want to be. Something that we have to be aware of, though, is that this information can be new information or it can be old information. It can be information that we already had, but it just didn't click before. It was at that particular moment that that piece of information snapped. It clicked with us and it made us say, no more, that's enough, I'm committing to something different and I'm taking action. That, my friends, is a true decision according to Mr. Robbins. And I'm pretty sure I know what you're thinking. Well, Camilla, I don't have breakthroughs every day of my life. That doesn't happen. So what do I do every other regular day of my life where I'm not having a breakthrough so that I make better decisions? This is something that Mr. Tony also talks about in his book. There are 3 major decisions that we can take every day of our lives that can shape and change the way we live and who we are. Number 1. The decision about what to focus on. We have free will to focus on what we want in our lives. It doesn't matter what scenario life throws at us, we get to focus on what we want from that scenario. I'll give you an example. When I first moved to Canada, I focused on my friends back in Colombia. I focused on what they were doing, what their lives were like without me, and how they continue to live their lives without me there. That made me feel incredibly lonely because everything that we focus on, we feel. And everything that we feel affects us. Instead of focusing on that, I could have focused on the fact that I was in a new country, in a country with a different culture that I could learn from and grow from. That would have probably made me feel hopeful and happy instead of lonely and miserable. Number 2. The decision of what things mean to us. I'll continue with the example. Because I focused on the fact that I missed my friends and I felt lonely, I gave that the meaning that I was never going to find friendships equally rewarding in Canada as I had in Colombia. That was the meaning that I gave to my loneliness and to the fact that my friends were still there being friends and spending time together, and I was in Canada, lonely, with no friends. I gave that meaning to myself, and that made me miserable. Something that Tony refers to is this the beginning or is the end of something? To me, this was the end. It was the end of any sort of long-lasting friendship I ever had. Instead of, I could have seen it as the beginning of something. And then, finally, one day, my breakthrough happened and I saw it as the beginning of something. And this is where decision number 3 happens. The decision about what are we going to do. In the moment where everything happened, my breakthrough happened, and I decided to see the situation as the beginning of something instead of the end, I started making conscious choices to change my behavior and to put myself out of my comfort zone. I joined the theater group, I joined the choir, which were both things that I enjoyed to do in Colombia, but I was too shy and too embarrassed to do here. And that led to incredible friendships and incredible results in my life. That small decision, the decision of joining theater and choir, not only gave me friendships in high school, which I thought was impossible, but also affected my career choice. I went to university for musical theater because of those choices. I would have never thought about auditioning for a musical theater program if it weren't because of the theater and choir that I did in high school here in Canada. So it goes without saying that the decisions that we make, even if they're small, affect in a way larger scale our lives than we think it does. Well, as you guys may have noticed, Mr. Robbins is pretty right about a lot of the stuff that he's saying. But then I started thinking, well, what would have happened if I made a choice and the outcome wasn't what I was expecting? What then? What if it was a decision that would have affected me negatively? How do I cope with the fact that I made a mistake? And also, how do I commit to my decision in the long term? How do I not let my screw-ups affect the fact that I've committed to changing something? How do I stay flexible in my approach to achieve my goal, being kind to myself, allowing myself to make errors, because we're all gonna make them? How do I keep myself committed when I'm making mistakes? Well, this is something that Tony also talks about in his book later on, which I'm also going to be talking about because I really want to share it with everybody. If you're someone that struggles with staying committed, staying focused, and making changes in your life like I do, ring the bell, subscribe, and be ready. Bye guys! What determines the action that we most commonly know now? One or a good one?